Good evening to you and welcome to this program of Walter Rodney Groundings. I'm your host, Dion Abrams, and with me on the program this evening is Brother Takuma Ugonse, and together we'll be talking about the political issues current in Guyana. We just want to say that apologize for not being on with new programming over the past few weeks. The local government elections were on, and so we wanted to give some time to the parties involved to air their views and concerns. And we'll be reflecting on those today, among other things. It's good to have you on the program, Brother Ogun.
It's always a pleasure to be here, but I can't say it's a pleasure to be here after the kind of defeat the PMU suffered the elections. But it's a pleasure to be on the program.
Okay, well, the president has returned after undergoing some treatment in Cuba. I think the WPA would want to wish him well and to.
We want to join with the rest of the country to wish him a speedy recovery. I mean, the last thing I saw in the papers, they said he's back at work.
Okay.
Which is significant, and I hope that day after the health will improve, because not only the responsibility that he has to the nation, but I mean he also has a family, and no one like to know, that person's close to you, is in a position where they're suffering. So we are hopeful, and we are glad that he's back, and we wish him the best of recovery.
Yeah, certainly do. I'm hopeful that that the treatment being administered is effective. From what I've read, it's not a sickness that can, like other degenerative cancers, but there has been cases of that form of cancer being treated pretty successfully. Even locally, I understand. One doctor I saw commenting in the newspaper that they have had good success in terms of the treatment. And Cuba is a place with excellent medical expertise, and we're grateful for their contribution to the health and well-being of President Granger. Well, the big thing would have been the local government elections. And the reports are that the PPP won 61% of the votes, APNU 34%, and the AFC got 4%. As what are your views in relation to the outcome of these elections? I saw you writing some stuff online.
We're on this program from day one. At least I'm not surprised, and I'm sure you're not surprised at the low turnout. Generally across the board, even the PAP areas, there was significantly low turnout. And more specifically, I'm sure I am not surprised that the AFC as well as the APMU would have had difficulty in bringing out their supporters. I was also confident that the PPP will have less problem in bringing out voters. So basically, for me, the results are not surprising.
Okay.
I expect it, but we have to discuss the local government elections in some more details. But for me, it is not surprising. It's not surprising.
I mean, what are the concerns that you've had? I saw you mentioning one of the PR of the APNU. Well, what is significant about?
Well, we have dealt with that over and over on this program. We have lamented that they're doing a poor work. In one, presenting the arguments of government policy justification. They're doing a poor work in engaging the detractors of the government, and I know for a fact, I don't want to get into name calling, but I know for a fact a major leader in the APMU, outside the PNC, had went to lengths to even suggest a foreign PR export and the lady was invited to the country, and they had discussions with the leadership of the APMU, and it was agreed that she is very professional and she's a good person, but they never employ her, and that's over 2 years ago. I mentioned this to show you that efforts were being made to deal with the PR crisis, which for some reason the APMU, just can't, and the government just can't come to grips with it. I don't know the reasons, but I think that we have to dive deeper, because I don't think the low performance of both the APMU and the AFC is only a matter of poor PR. I think that they have to recognize that when you're in government, you're not judged by the electorate the same way you're judged when you're opposition. Mm-hmm. When you're in opposition, the electorate will listen to your arguments, your policies, the energy in which you defend, the interests and the energies to which you advocate solutions. So it's rhetoric. In opposition, your rhetoric matters. People know you can't deliver. But as soon as you come to government, people now judge you not by your rhetoric anymore. It's by your ability to deliver to them. Honor commitments given, manifesto promises, and the way in which you deal with the very issues that you were critical of the previous government. So I think this government has to recognize that its poor show and had little to do with GCOM or any other body or any other particular ministry within the government failure to educate voters. It is not so much a question of voters' illiteracy about the process. It is a question that the voters decide to speak to those in power by staying away from the polls. And I am glad that it happened at this local government elections, and it did happen in 2020.
Okay.
Because at least the government has a chance now to better appreciate where the masses are, and particularly their own constituents. And they still have time, to repair the damage. Imagine this was 2020 and they got the reward of what happened. So they do have time to repair the damage, and I hope they can learn the lessons, and begin a process of repair. I mean, as we go on in the program, I will share some of my views about, I think, some of the challenges and so.
One of the things that people keep saying, and we also say this, that we are dealing with a government that doesn't listen. It doesn't listen to us. Apparently, it doesn't listen to the people. It seems as though they've shut their ears to all the cries of their constituents and people who have their interest at heart. How valid a comment is that?
I think it's a very valid comment. It's a very valid comment. But I wouldn't say they don't listen absolutely. Because nothing in this world is absolute. But I think generally, if they were more politically sensitive to criticisms and respond to it in a way they ought to, they'll be lessening of problems. I think it's a fair, even though the masses, people who make this point, they do it with great conviction, and I think there's a lot of reasons and justification for that, But why I said I don't think it's 100%, I can't believe, because I'm telling you, I see them panic after these results.
Okay.
So something must click inside the head after December 12th. That whatever world they were in, they recognize that, look, you got to begin to listen and to deal with this thing. So I'm hopeful that, from now on, we begin to see a change in attitude. But remember the last program we hear, and I'm glad that we didn't come last week on the program, because as we discussed, we discussed it. We didn't want to look like if we wanted, rub salt in the APMU AFC wound, and to say, we are used to tell you so and so and so forth. We deliberately decide to give them a chance and to absorb the defeat and and to look at it and to let them to begin to engage without we saying anything. But I mean, I have to be candid. We have been pointing out many areas, but we're going to start with just one first.
Okay.
we had point out here that one of the fundamental weaknesses of this government from day one is the president's decision to make the cabinet the decision-making body and the executing body. That is fundamentally the problem with this government. And I don't see nobody apart from the president could change that. And I think that is critical for us to turn around this thing in time for 2020. Because you have a set of politicians in government, the logic of government. You see, government puts on those who have to run the government some objective pressures. Therefore you need a body, to exert some amount of control over the government. And all democracies, the government has to carry the policies of the party, and the party have to have a hand in restraining the government. But in our situation, the cabinet like is a runaway train. Nobody control them, nobody could influence them. And I think that is the fundamental, the first thing to my mind has to be corrected. And I can't see that being corrected without the full recognition of the president that this thing have to be fixed. Even if you change cabinet ministers, but the practice of the cabinet executing policies, and making policies, you end up in the same place.
At the exclusion
of everybody else.
else.
You end up in the same place. So I'm saying that the president is unfortunate. We have to press this point now that he's a little ill. I mean, I would rather him to be in best of health so that we could have a more energetic polemics. And I don't want to overkill. But I think he has to, really reflect on this matter and see how he could reverse it. Now, the second point is the way in which the APMU, as distinct from the coalition, I believe that there is better or there's more democratic, practice among the APMU, AFC coalition than there is in the APMU among APMU parties. So I want to make the distinction. I think despite whatever problems they may have, the APMU and the AFC at the level of the coalition, there seems to have more communication, there seems to have more agreement, and there seems to be in contact with each other. And it is almost self-explanatory in the sense that if you don't do that, the government will collapse. But in terms of the democracy and the and the interplay within the APMU, it is almost non-existent. Therefore, the APMU, for all in a big way,
Doesn't
it's
exist.
well, I want to say doesn't exist. I mean, you're right. In a big way, the APMU is being robbed of the political energies of the other smaller parties because we don't play any significant role within the APMU. And I think it is deliberate. I mean, I've watched this process for 3 years. In the first part of the thing, I used to say, look, some of these problems is, as Comrade Granger, newness to politics, and it's going to work itself out and a thing. But I mean, after 3.5 years of looking at the whole scenario, I'm convinced that the APMU, suffer in a great way after they concede the 40% to the APMU, the AFC. I think from the time the PNC, they had to concede the 60%, they went into a mode, of making sure that the smaller parties in the APMU is in no position to make any demands that could affect, their 60% in a way that they don't want to. And I think it is that mentality, that led to the APMU becoming, an organization that is only a name, but not really
an entity.
Entity, you see? I mean, the better thing for them to have done, the PNC should have done. I mean, is to, at the end of the negotiations, the Commonwealth Accord, and where you concede, we have to concede the 40% to the AFC, to assemble the APMU parties and let us have a discussion on the matter. Let us recognize this is 60% we have, and allow the parties to express a view how they feel the thing should be run. And I'm telling you, if they had done that, they would have seen the reasonableness of all them parties. And I can speak for the WPA. The WPA was very concerned about the pressures the 40% is being put upon the PNC and its problems for the APMU. And we were very, very understandable. But they didn't even give us a chance, okay, for them to get the benefit of our thinking on the thing. From day one, they decide we have to isolate them, we have to keep them in check and impose that kind of politics. And it gets from bad to worse.
Yeah, but Dr. Hines is saying that, in a big way, the WPA and other parties and other agencies, even the people of the supporters of the APME, because of their silence, they have allowed this thing to go on and to happen until it has now blown up in the face of all of us. That the silence is the killer.
Yes, I agree to some extent, but you see, I let differ with David on the WPA position, because he must know, we have discussed it over and over, the WPA was in a awkward position. You see, because of the historical problems within the PNC, because the way in which Comrade Granger dealt with the Walter Rodney Commission, you know, the abrupt ending without any consultation, and the bad blood that generated and the tension between the two parties, you know, it is hard in that situation, and given the level of the political consciousness among our own support base, at a point in time when they just come to power, you know, I think it was unreasonable to expect the WPA to go outside there and to challenge the fundamental problems in the way in which we did subsequently. Because let me tell you something, if we were to do that, it means since they signed the Commonsburg Accord and they didn't call us, we would have to start creating confusion. And I'm telling you, my judgment of Guyanese people, even before that, but I'm trying to start from that point.
Okay.
Right? If after the Commonsburg Accord was signed and the APMU was not assembled so that we could participate in deciding how things will go from there, we began to keep noise. People will say we're trying to prevent the PPP from getting defeat. You see, this is the nature of the country, that you don't have an electorate that is very sophisticated. And if after the victory, we have begun to complain that we're not being consulted, we don't know what the party could get from it, okay, and so forth, people would say, all you're concerned about yourself. You see, this is nature, Guyana, you know. And because of all of that, we have had to step backwards and to allow, you know, the real world to throw up some of these circumstances just to make it more favorable. So I do feel that we could theoretically, from day one, we could take a harder position, but I'm not convinced it will bear the fruit that the developer is expecting and people have been expecting. I think the WPA is in a stronger political and moral position in this equation, okay, given the way we conduct ourselves in this matter. But I agree that generally the silence of our constituents, and I'm convinced the silence of the African Guyanese organizations, you know, in not engaging the political situation and not speaking to the PNC, when the APMU PNC, when they're misusing power, is a great weakness in the equation. So I'm not saying that the WPA don't have to accept some blame, but I'm saying, given the nature of the WPA PNC relation, given the nature of WPA and the African community, who, you know, large sections say we make the PNC come to power, out the power the PP come to power, and all kinds of things. And the WPA has to be sensitive to these issues and to conduct a politics that makes sense. But I think the greater value would have come if from the first year of the government, the TUC, the workers had stage a major strike against this government or a massive demonstration, this government would not have been in the bad situation it was today. If the African workers had the political sense and the leadership was forming up from day one, stamp the authority, we're not accepting this nonsense. This would have been a far better government, and the government would have been much more in a stronger political situation today. So I agree that silence, contribute.
No, okay. So silence from political partners, from the
Masses,
people who believe that, man, you can criticize them as your own government and all these things. That the fact that, the idea of our government, even though they're doing wrong, and that is where Dr. Hines got into conflict with the government and with people who believe that he was too critical of them. But the criticism was not in bad faith.
Right, it was not in bad faith.
And it doesn't seem as though they understood that people like Lincoln Lewis, like you, who would be on this program criticizing, that it is all of us. It's for the best interest
of the
government, out of concern. And so we have the situation where the ministers themselves have become so isolated from the people that you can't even contact them, you can't get a word. They have become so aloof and out of touch with what is happening that they don't even know what is happening on the ground as far as organization is concerned. Ask how many of them, if they know what is happening within the constituencies, even where they live.
They don't know.
They don't know anything. All right? So from the top right down, we've seen a total disconnect with the support base. But one of the things that concerns me is in this election that we're talking about, we're calling it an APNU defeat. Is it really an APNU defeat?
No, to be very candid, as I point out at the program when you did the last step together, the APMU didn't go to the polls. The PNC went to the polls. The real PNC defeat. The PNC went to the polls under the disguise of the APMU. The PNC wanted to test its own popularity.
Yeah.
It wanted to see to what extent it have regained strength since it's coming to power. It wanted to, and we decided to use the local government elections to test its popularity. Okay, and the AFC decided to do the same. You see, because, and we're going to spend a little time on this, because, and why I say so, because if from the time the Cummings-Burger Accord was seen, I mean, as a person who's sitting in negotiations, we told the AFC that you can't deliver the 10% that you say you could deliver. So the point I'm making here is that we knew that they were in no position to deliver guaranteed the 10% in exchange for the 40% that they want.
Okay.
So this whole question of the AFC ability to deliver the 10% vote was always very much in people's consciousness. But we accept the value of the AFC, that whatever percentage they bring will help with the victory, and the synergy it creates, that everybody's against the PPPs. It was critical for we winning. Okay? So and then you had the local government election 2016. The AFC did bad again there. Even when from a position, not an opposition, from a position of power. Okay? So the AFC knew that it can't come in 2018 for local government elections and tell the APMU we want 40% of the local government seats as concur to the Cummings-Burger Accord. It's a non-starter. I mean, once they do that, it means that they want the APMU to reject it. And I think they play in the APMU hand, because the APMU, the APMU also want them to go and test their popularity. And they made it easy for the APMU.
APNU or PNC?
Well, PNC. Wanted them to go test their popularity. You understand? Okay. But the point is, I'm saying both the PNC and the APMU and wanted the AFC wanted to use this local government elections to test their popularity. They went out there individually, okay, and they demonstrate the individual weakness and the collective weakness. So but it may be a blessing in disguise, because now real politics could step in. The AFC can't be, because there were some genuine AFC people I mean, generally AFC comrades I listen to really believe that the AFC, you know, still represent something significant. So at least they're in a better position to see the situation. The PNC is a better position to see that even if the PNC got opposed by itself without its allies, it can win. Hopefully, that logic will force the two blocks to develop a more realistic politics if they really want to defeat the PPP. So in a sense, it could be a blessing in disguise, but I don't know. In these matters, you don't know. You know.
What if the PNC, because President Granger justified the list selected for local government by saying that, okay, it's not the party selecting any list, it's coming from the communities, which you yourself said was just a way of isolating the other parties and choosing the PNC comrades to be part of the elections and just getting rid of all the other agents involved.
But you see, that can't stand because Comrade Granger is also on the record as saying months before, and he said at least on two occasions, that the local government elections will be a referendum on the government. So if it's going to be a referendum on the government, it means that organizationally, right, they must know what the implications for that. And the PNC went out there with that clearly in mind, that they're the biggest party, they bring all the votes to the thing, and they went out there, you know, in the glory, and they get the answer. You know, they get the answer.
You know, one of the things that bothers a lot of people in the communities, in the villages and so on, is neglect of the support base of the APNU. The belief that we can focus on getting votes from outside this captured net, and you believe that it's already there, that you don't have to pay attention to it, that you must go looking elsewhere, and so you shower all the blessings and neglect your own constituency. How logical is that as a political thinker in terms of...
I mean, that's poor politics, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes I try to explain these things in a simple way, more for the viewers, you know, our constituents rather than the leaders, because if you do it sophisticatedly, the leader is going to understand, but suddenly you might lose the masses. Look, man, in a multi-ethnic society like ours, where race and politics has basically shaped the Guyanese political personality. Right? You know, we have been dealing with this problem for umpteen years. So it's nothing new to us. And in a society, multi-ethnic society, you got two major ethnic blocks. You got the smaller groupings. Any victory could come from one or the other major blocks. There's no possibility the smaller groups doing anything to defeat the major blocks. Good. It is important for whoever in power to treat their constituency well, so that people outside the constituency could see what you're doing for your constituents and be motivated to join you to get some of the benefits. But if they're watching a particular block in power, and the block is not delivering to its constituents, it's treating its constituents bad, then I, as an Amerindian person, a person or a multiracial person who see myself outside the block, if you treat your own son, how you want to treat me? So there's no incentive for me to come towards you. I may look elsewhere. So it is stupid politics in multi-ethnic society like ours. You have whoever in power has to treat their constituency properly in order to use that treatment to attract other people. I'm not saying you totally need everything. Our government have to be national and has to try to balance the scale. But anytime your constituency has doubts about your commitment to them, you could take it for sure you are going to attract no other people outside your constituents. And this is the simple message I tell them we leaders. And if they don't understand it, it's at their own peril. The PPP understand it in good. You don't got to preach to the PPP. They understand. They're the masters of the business. They treat the people good, but everybody's saying, I want the kind of the treatment and willing to get some of the good treatment. But we leadership seems to believe
treat yourself good and left the master.
That's a problem, So
I was commenting on the attitude of a particular minister with one stalwart who was in the PNC, a former parliamentarian, and he was saying, he was totally disgusted with the way this politician has become, because he pointed out that these are guys you used to sit with and you take a beer, they were so to the level where they would see you in a shop, buy me a beer and all these things. But now you can't even the guys have become so.
The boys drink at different places now. Why you gotta go certain? If you know where the drinks you can find them, but you might be able to get in there.
There's another thing, right? And you can't get close to them. So they have become so disconnected from. I mean, these are people who used to be by the car park, taking a drink, liming with the guys and all these things. And you can't get to these chaps at all, So that rejection alone, it spells a whole lot for people who were, it sends people off. Yeah. It turns the masses off.
You see, that is why you see here, power always corrupts. And there's absolute power corrupts absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's why anybody who come into politics, if you're smart, you would want to put pressure around on yourself. You see, a politician, to be successful, if you want to really deliver, you don't want to be a scoundrel. Mm-hmm. You want to be honest, you do the best for your country, and to deliver as much as you could deliver for people, you have to put yourself under some pressures deliberately. For example, we came to power, we did well in 2011, the APMU, we came to power with the APMU AFC, we did well, the young people at Stabrook Market, they're mobilizing, carrying the fight and so on, so on, so on. As soon as we get power, we take them off the road, we close them down.
And you isolate the leadership.
And you left the leadership vulnerable to the other negative influence which any government is exposed to. You need, in this situation, to have your militant, and you have them out there analyzing the situation with a critical eye. So it puts pressure upon you that you can't go too far off. And also put pressure upon the other people in the society that they can't put too much pressure upon you, because you watchdog, you are under pressure, open public pressure here to act in a certain way. But once we take away the pressure, which politicians like to do, they like to govern in comfort. I'm telling you, they will get gobbled up. Okay?
But
by those vultures who just dare to swallow up and to turn the politicians into their puppets.
Yeah, but you know too that they have basically tried to shut down that youth movement.
Yeah.
That was
shut down right away, almost like right away.
To isolate the leadership. And even in the communities where you have had leaders like Sharma Solomon and Deborah Kissoon and all of these things. These are young people who are vibrant in their communities, who have a constituency and so on. And you believe that you could just, dispense with them, just like that.
Yeah, and I'm telling you.
It's really awkward politics.
Yeah, it's awkward politics. And you see, we have to, in Guyanese politics, there's a big weakness. And I'm more concerned, you see, people spend that time with the PP doing, what Jagdi doing. I have long don't want to spend energies on Jagdi, because Jagdi doesn't have a problem. The problem is we. Mm-hmm. I have long worked it out that Jagdi is not the APMU problem. The APMU problem is self-inflicted. And the energies we spend on Jagdio, and we need to spend on ourselves to correct the thing. You see? And I'm telling you, unless the APMU is self-critical, to recognize that, look, you have to honestly utilize the strengths of all your partners in the APMU partnership, and the strengths of your wider coalition will include the AFC. And you have to recognize that that no one party, big or small, acting in its own, could deliver victory. It is the synergy of the collective.
Yeah, but the victory
way forward.
Didn't teach them that?
No, but they didn't draw it in even the study it, they forget.
Okay.
Power make them forget. But this elections, I sure make them remind them. But we have to be clear that if they are going to be recover, the PNC have already damaged the APMU brand by going to elections. PNC going to elections basically without the APMU, damage the brand, and we got to repair it. Whenever you're acting as the APMU, it must be clear to everybody is the collective acting. You got the PNC meetings, whether there's small meetings or big or public meetings, and you watch over the campaign, this local government campaign, okay? It's poor PNC people you're seeing basically. You can't see, I couldn't identify, you can't identify other APMU party participation. And there's only two places I know the WPA got a sprinkling of participation. But and I'm saying you're not fooling anybody. The community will know that these people here is PNC people. They ain't seeing WPA people. They ain't seeing the Justice for All people. They ain't seeing the American Party will be assumed they will active more in the interland. Okay? Kit Scott Party. They ain't seeing people from the other small parties, so they're not being fooled. So you're only fooling yourself. People know that it's not the APMU. And if you telling the electorate that this elections is not that important that I need to mobilize the APMU, people gonna say, well, I don't need to mobilize, no big thing. It's not no this is not no major contest. And I'm saying that we have to blame ourselves. They have to blame themselves for what happened.
Now Joe Harmon has come out with a statement at a meeting he held in South Rumbelta or someplace.
Sophia. No?
Sophia, yeah, Sophia, saying that they're not going to allow the PPP run local government areas to carry on in the way that they were carrying on before. They're going to ensure that there is some kind of equity in the distribution of the resources. But is that the major problem? We've had problems with the city. We've had problems with local government areas not controlled by the PPP. I've heard the Minister of Communities on a radio program with this boy, he used to be on TV. He's making the point that because he was asked about the town clerk and the overseers and so on, and he publicly on radio said that many people believe that the overseers and the town clerks are in charge of the NDCs and the towns and so on. But that is not true. That the councils are run by the elected officials and all of these things. But the minister did nothing. Nothing for the time that he has been there to ensure that that was the case. Why he is saying that we did some training, and in none of those training programs that they conducted, they made it definitively clear at none of those training programs that I attended. So you have situation talking about PPP controlled areas. It's not a problem in the PPP controlled areas alone.
No, it's a problem cut across. But I think the point the minister was trying to get at, okay, I think he was trying to indicate to his constituents.
Trying to fool people? That is what he's trying to fool people?
No. He was trying to indicate to his constituents that, look, the PPP benefited, from the fact that they were allowed to do the like in their own constituency, okay? Continue the corruption, blah, 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 giving contracts to their own people and so forth and so forth. And that the government, from here onwards, will try to see how they will restrain that. Now, let me take this separate from the other point you made about what's happening in our own constituents. Now, it is always good that people recognize things sometimes after the fact.
Okay.
But it's always better if they recognize it before the fact.
Okay.
But it's not that simple, Dion. It's not that simple, because We talk about the PP areas now. You see, we're gonna come back to our areas now, and I got to be really cautious because I can't speak as if I was in these discussions because these discussions. But from everything I know about this government, the Berbice, the areas where the Indians live, and where PP is strong, this government and the coalition assigned it as a responsibility to the AFC. Is you got to bring home these Indian votes. So I could understand, I could see with the way in which the AFC approached Berbice and them things. The APM, I used to watch this thing very carefully. You have the PP entrenched in these years for 23 years. Now, you are compared to the PPP in these areas. You come to power. The AFC has to make up mind very clear we're doing. Either you try to destroy the PP structures and replace it with new structures, okay? Or you try to neutralize them as much as possible. But what the AFC seems to have decided is to try to co-opt the PP structures, leave the structures put in the ground and try to win over them, buy them over. And I think that the APMU probably give them the benefit of the doubt to how to deal with Berbice. So it's in that sense, I could be a little sympathetic to the APMU, because you had to give them leeway to see how they can get these Indian votes. You see? So I think that, that is what play out in Indian areas. Well, so the people benefit from the 23 years of being in power. They benefit from the 3.5 years where the AFC playing ball with them. Okay, and it benefits the PPP because the PPP people, they had to choose between the PPP and the AFC. The AFC approached the Indian community in a way that allowed the Indian community to don't have to be forced to make a choice. You see, if you start to destroy the structures of the opponents, okay, then the people have to decide if they're coming over or they're coming over. And I'm telling you, you get more traction when people see the new political order is breaking down the old. But if the people who's beneficiary of the old order is seeing that the new order ain't doing nothing to the old order, they will stay in the old order and play a game with you and eat from both hands.
So you ain't saying that this cut across the
no, but I'm trying to deal with the...
Because it's the same thing happening there.
Yeah, but I'm trying to deal with the Indian area because I think the remark, and that's why Jaggi and them jump on the minister because he's being very specific in terms of the Berbice, the Indian areas. Okay. No, but I'm saying, I agree with you that even in our constituency, okay, we allow a lot to happen that ought not to have happened. But as I said, it's better late than never. Better late than never. We don't have much time. And between me and you, I don't know if we could correct it. But I gotta be optimistic. Because the thought of Jagdi and PP coming back to power force you to be optimistic.
Well, it means that a lot of work got to be done.
Plenty work have to be done.
And it got to start from now.
No.
And it means, therefore, that people whom they have isolated, look in Region 4, you know how many chairmen and so on they just threw out, isolated, the Pleasants, Victoria, all these people who were running independent because of their disgust, how they were fed up with the way the administration was. And nobody from up top like they didn't understand what's going on. You are a party, you had chairman for Pleasant, you got chairman for Boxing, you got chairman for Grove Islington, and all of these people opt off and gone running independent against you, and you ain't coming to ask why. And you are running a political party. Now, what kind of party you're running? You ain't got to ask what is happening on the ground.
Yeah, but I hear a very worrying thing. I hear in BV.
Yeah, even BV.
Right.
They competed against the 8th of May.
And they accused the 8th of May of being PPP.
Well, you see, that's another thing.
And now they need to approach the
8th of May because they got 4 votes.
And the AP, the mayor saying, "I even call me PP. We coming.
But that is the kind of backwardness.
It's backwardness. Even if you got to compete, you got to do it respectfully and comradely, so that after the elections, what will happen, you could think. So they have a dilemma there, and I hope they could really resolve it. You know. But I mean,
because the 8th of May hold the balance.
Yeah, they hold the balance. So you call you PPP, and now people throw it back in your face.
Oh boy,
you know,
it's amazing. You know. It's amazing. And they're that's why I'm saying right through the coast, all right, they've isolated people. You know, through not only through the organizers that they have on the ground, but also through the local government system, through these overseers who are taking dictate from, you know, the region and all these people, which ought to be coming somewhere from the top. They can't be doing it by themselves. So when the minister is talking his nonsense, you know, because complaints were sent to him, and he never sought to fix it. So when he goes on air and makes that kind of statement, you know, it's simply playing politics or trying to make people fools. But the foolishness is reflected in the outcome of the elections. Right? Because you can't believe that this thing is by magic. You just can't run in a community, pick up anybody, you know, and believe that they have no grounding in the community and all of that, and believe that overnight they're going to become
pulling votes. Pullers.
Right? No, in Buxton, there are 2 lists that were submitted from one community. I mean, you know, and that's why they ended up in no proper organization. You know, I sat back and I watched them, and the result is reflected in that. You know, and then you got people boasting that nobody can move them from this council and a whole set of foolishness before they go on the ground to do work that would have pulled the people together. You know? But this is the kind of power drunk attitude that is coming down from the top, empowering the bottom to do the same. You know, so people believe that they own the NDC, they own the constituents, and that people are going to come out and vote for them. We got to have the problem fixed. We got a lot to do. We got to fix it.
But we can't fix it unless the president, I'm clear on this, unless President Granger accept full responsibility for this failure, how this thing play itself wrong, and communicate that responsibility, okay, and commit to a new order, a new line of march, we will not be able to effectively pull this thing back. Because I'm telling you, you have to understand the political culture. We are in a maximum leader culture. And the PNC and so, and the APMU will accept WPA, and if the WPA will be compromised. If the leader decide to go into denial, and the leader decide he ain't taking responsibility, nobody in the PNC going to want to fight Granger. Nobody in the APMU going to want to fight Granger, probably except the WPA. And even the WPA, we got difficulties. Because I'm not sure I would support WPA fighting Granger if he's in denial at this point in time. I would rather, you know, we not withdraw, but avoid getting a conflict on the matter. So the point I'm trying to make, that given the political culture of the country and the party, PNC the party, and so, if Granger dig his heels in and enter into a posture of political denial and don't accept political responsibilities, everybody around Granger, okay, going to make no about change. You understand? But if the president come out and tell the nation and the constituents, look man, I handle this thing badly, I accept responsibility, and I say no, we changing course. Everybody around now, we feel energized and feel safe to take initiatives, okay, and to go forward with the line of new march. So for me, unless I see the kind of firm leadership from Comrade Granger, I will be very, 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 very cautious about our ability to turn this thing around in the absence of that.
You know, why is it that they underestimate the power of the coalition? I remember when Dr. Hines and Lincoln were removed from the Chronicle, and the WPA began to agitate against it and so on, that people came to my home and saying that we can't break up the coalition. We got to stay together. Tell Dr. Hines that, you know, the WPA cannot leave. Why does the PNC believe that people see them and not the coalition as the entity that brought victory to this?
But it's only they could answer that. Mm-hmm. But I'm convinced that they know. I'm convinced that they know. And I try, you know, I don't think it's the whole PNC in the state.
Okay.
I think there are significant sections of the PNC who understood and who still understand the value of the coalition, and they understand the PNC limitations in the equation. But I think the president and some other elements in the PNC who, and see, for the president, I gotta be less sympathetic because he's not a full-blown politician. I think he has a simplistic approach to this thing. You see? And I think his attitude is important, because if he decides that he testing the PNC strength now that they go back in power, nobody in the PNC can say, comrade leader, this is not the right time for test with strength. It's too early. Okay, we haven't recovered significantly. We haven't defeated PPP, you know, in a very profound way. Don't let me risk it now. Everybody gonna shut them out, even if they know it don't make sense. So I don't think it's fair to say the whole PNC. It's sections of the PNC, but it matters because the people who in the PNC who shape the policy is them who will empower. So in that sense, they have the responsibility. And I don't think that Comrade Granger doesn't understand the value of the thing, but he's caught in a dilemma which he creates for himself. I mean, nobody could take away any marks from Granger and the importance he played in the victory in 2011 and 15. I think he as a new element in the equation made it easier for the AFC and other forces, you know, not to come aboard. And I don't think nobody ever try to diminish the importance of the president in the equation. But somehow the president seems to got problems and probably feeling that he ain't getting enough recognition. And the party ain't getting enough recognition. And that they have to fight for more recognition. And the way to get the recognition is to demonstrate the weaknesses of other parties around them and their singular strength. And I think this will push them there. So now they didn't know the value, but they had partisan reasons, to going down the adventurous road that they went. I'm hopeful that now that they have experienced the results, that they're politically mature enough, to correct the ways. But we're going to see in another few weeks.
So, we have elections coming on in 2020. Just a year and a couple months down the road. You've mentioned some of the things that you believe are critical to making a difference to the electorate. How soon do you think the work should begin?
Right away.
So
we don't have no time. This work have to begin right away. But I'm saying...
But where does it begin?
It's where I'm pointing at with the president.
Okay.
Until the president accepts his responsibility in this equation and use his presidential strength that he has, open the door for a transformation. On this point, in a letter I wrote that you must make a 360-degree turn. But Comrade Majid, Comrade Ali Majid, send an email to me and say, Ogun, really wrong, because the 360-degree turn came back to just where we start. So we got to make a 180 degree. So I want to
Okay.
congratulate Ali, the brother Comrade Ali Majid, for recognizing the flaw in my thinking.
All right.
You know, so it was not a 360-degree because I carry back when we start. You gotta make a major turn. A 180-degree at least.
All
You
right.
know, but honestly, I see the start to do some things. I hear, those I hear, I know for sure because I in the PNC. But I hear the new chairman, which is Sister Vala.
Uh-huh.
She decided that look, she got to do certain things urgently. She got to keep PNC meetings among the place.
Okay.
And the things that the other chairperson are doing, as we are correcting this slide. And they're planning a series of PNC meetings. I assume it's PNC. It can't be APMU.
Okay.
You understand? If it's coming from the chairman at the thing, so I only have to say it's APMU, PNC meetings. But okay, those are small potatoes if the big issues I point to in address. If the big issues in address and the president intro his presidential authority and stamp his leadership and open the door for change, we ain't gonna get far. So even though the work had to start from today, the major work can't start till the president then speak. And that's my worry. If it take long to speak, we lose critical time.
So what is the role of the other parties in
Well,
all?
I think the role of the other parties will have to, whether the president speak or he didn't speak, we have to accept our responsibility in the equation and begin to go outside there and do work in our own name. And in our own name, we carry the name to the APMU. And I'm pressing the WP have to go outside and keep meetings and so on. So in the name of the WP, committed to the APMU. So whatever the WPA do, we do enough for the WPA, or we do enough for the APMU. But we do it in the WPA name so people can't say we ain't doing nothing. You see, the WPA is not a party with a lot of money. And in these electoral contests, money reigns supreme. And I know when we sit at the table, they say, well, how much money WPA could bring? I could tell them up front, WPA ain't got no big check that could bring
Yeah,
any
but we
money.
brought a lot to the last time. We didn't even know where it gone.
But we ain't got no big check for bring no money to nobody. But people, if we go outside there and create momentum in the community and the street corners and so, and bring political energies, at least the critics could see the political energies that the WPA bring.
All right, we got to tie up, but
Yeah.
that is one of the things that we got to talk about again because Dr. Hines was doing just that, and they try to
Yeah, but
every time you go into the communities to organize.
It is easy to them to fight an individual than to fight the party.
Okay, so we shoot ourselves in the
Foot all the time.
Right. So that's the way it is. They don't want any other party to emerge as significant, and it's stupid.
It's very
It's
foolish.
stupid politics. All right, but it's been good being with you, and I want to thank Brother Oban for being here and having this enlightening discourse on the local government elections, and we can only hope that some of the prescriptions he suggested that they can be administered so that come 2020 there will be a transformation in the attitude of voters who are supporting the APNU so that victory can be won once again and our government can remain in power. And do have a good night. Remember, these local government elections are not national elections, and begin to address, what the possibilities are if we are to lose the national elections as against the local elections. Have a good night, my people. And see you next week, same time, same channel, for another program of Walter Rodney Groundings.